Well, good morning, everyone. And right off the bat, I am going to apologize for the audio because it is very, very windy this morning. We have wind gusts up to maybe 50 miles per hour today, which is just one of the reasons that our normal Garden Life Sunday show will not air today. It will air later in the week. I have been doing, as you guys know, so many of you came to see me at the home and garden shows, both in Indianapolis and here in Oklahoma City, and those just wrapped up yesterday. And because of that, I wasn't available to shoot in advance, and we were planning on shooting today, but it's just too windy. I, again, had hoped to share with you, I had mentioned earlier in one of my videos that I thought the big backyard reveal would be today, and instead, I'm just going to have to do this in segments. So let me just show you some things that are going on that I'm really, really thrilled about. On the potting end, that is still undergoing. I still have some different things to do down there. Again, we got postponed because of some high winds and some other factors, but that should be completed pretty soon. In the meantime, I'm so excited because my raised beds over here, and yes, those two olive trees have blown down a couple of times, and I've had to reposition them, and I'm going to show you a little bit later once we do the final backyard reveal on what I have in mind to prevent that from happening again. But for right now, I just want to show you how successfully my raised bed gardens are coming along. It just thrills me no end that they are becoming very beautiful and very lush. So I planted in here some curly kale, aka I believe it's a winter boar kale, and then in the corners I planted some bright light Swiss chard. Now these I just got in 6-packs because I wanted immediately to have some kind of growth here in the beds, but then I seeded some things. So let's take a break and I'll share that with you in a moment. Now the reason I have these wire cloches, and I will put a link to some in the description box below, is to prevent the squirrels from digging in here. And around the edges there's a couple of spots where you can see that they were not deterred, that they did start digging a bit around that beautiful red stemmed bright lights. But those that are underneath the cloches, all of the baby, and this was kind of a beautiful spring blends mix of different greens. I believe it was a spicy mix, and if you look, you can see that most of it is green, but there are some that are kind of a purple. You can see that red, kind of the purpley tinge, I guess, around the edge of the leaves, and I love that. Now I think in one of my previous videos I shared with you that around the edges I planted some nasturtiums that I hope to cascade over the side. Now on the front edge I'm not seeing any evidence of germination, but on the back side, and I will record this in my journal, that germination will take place more quickly on the back side, on the fence side. You can see that nasturtium, 1 and 2, nasturtium number 2 of the many that I planted have germinated. So before too long, we're going to get some more rain tonight, and before too long they will all germinate. And then not only will these window boxes be practical, but they will also be beautiful, and I'll get some height here. And then I think I told you that my color palette In the last video, my color palette for back here was going to be these more orange, red, golden tones, and look at that. Not only do I love the height of these bulbs, and I will do some research to share exactly which variety this is, because I'm going to plant a lot more of them next year. I love the way the stem arches. These are tall. I love the very, very almost triangular form of the flower. And I love the color and the way they look in the backyard with my brighter, more vivid color palette than the softer English colors in the front. And you can see that it's picked up. Okay, bye. That was Hubs. He's going out and about. How beautiful it looks with the red geraniums, but also in the distant, the angel wing begonias. In this box over here, which I will call box number 1, the middle will be box number 2, and the other will be box number 3, which will help me when I journal, alluding to them in that way. You can see that the gorge, look at the deep, deep purple of this romaine. How beautiful it is. I think it would be equally as beautiful in the vase as it will be on my plate. And romaine is planted in the corners in this recipe. I don't see any evidence yet around the perimeter of any of the nasturtiums, either in the back or in the front. This box tends to be in a little bit more shade. But I do see lots of arugula coming up. Arugula being probably my favorite green, leafy green to grow. And once again, I have some cloches here. And I hope the cloches I'm going to give you a link to are ones in my QVC line. And oh my goodness, I love them. They are in all different colors. I've got them used in a different area of my home, but I will show them to you. But what I like about them is they have stakes and they are in different color palettes. Still, like I say, no evidence of nasturtiums, but I have faith that it will germinate soon. But my goodness, this purple romaine is gorgeous. And I may have to do a flower arrangement. My question of the day for you all is, what is your favorite garden green to grow? Arugula is mine, but you guys let me know what lettuce blend or what mesclun mix you like to grow. Now this raised bed number 3, I haven't done anything with, other than I did plant some nasturtiums that will climb, hopefully, up these metal tutors. I did plant some of these, and I see a few volunteer weed seedlings, tree seedlings that have come up in here, which is an important reason to look at them now and identify what these tree seedlings look like, because you're not going to want to harvest them as you are harvesting your greens. I don't see any evidence of this, and I really need to beautify this bed. And I will, now that I've got a little bit more time, that the home and garden shows are complete, then I'll be able to play back here. And this is what it's all about for me, is being able to play in my own garden. As much as I love public speaking and visiting with you guys, I love that. But for me, you know, the genesis of all this is just being able to work in the garden. I could not be any more pleased, as I told you yesterday, with the Platinum Beauty Lamandra. And by the way, up on Instagram this morning, I put a clip, a little video clip of what it looked like as I had it staged in a vignette in the backyard of my former home. This is a different effect with different colors here, and I absolutely love it. We will be doing some things at the base on the legs of this raised bed, which will house tomatoes and peppers, maybe some basil, to make these more moisture resistant and stable, but we will be doing that a little bit later. And here are the tulips on this side, just looking very beautiful. And so many of you have asked, okay, what happened to the rain barrel? Well, this winter, I think I told you, it got down to 0 degrees. And even though it was empty, or so I thought, and the valve was open, nevertheless, there was enough residual water in there, and it literally just burst at the seams. So I think maybe I will not be trying another rain barrel simply because it did prove to be problematic. I don't regret trying it. I encourage you to have one, but for me, it just doesn't seem to be practical. So it's starting to come together. I mean, the back porch, I think, really is looking lovely. It's not finished yet. That will be in the final reveal. The table underneath the windows is a holy mess. I still have to get an awning for over the back door, but I do think it's starting to look beautiful. And I love this trio of evergreens that I've got where the rain barrel used to be. I am so excited. This was a last minute design decision to put some of these dwarf encore azaleas back here. And I'm so glad I did, and I am so pleased with the color palette that these will be. I can't wait in the next few weeks to show you what they look like when they bloom. I know I showed you this yesterday, you guys, but see how the color is starting to emerge from the blooms down there. This is a coral autumn, and it will just be the perfect color companion for the tulips and the color palette that I have going here. And I will put a link to them in the description box below. Obviously, I'll be showing them as they begin to emerge because April is Encore Azalea month. And then how I have them styled for Easter. So you guys know I just adore boxwood, and you often ask me what my favorite variety is, and heretofore it has been Green Mountain boxwood. But now that I have more experience with better boxwood, oh my goodness, it is hands down now my favorite. And I'm going to be showing you later this week. I'm going to do a video solely dedicated to better boxwood, talking about the different varieties and how I plan to use it in my landscape. This one here that I've already potted up, this is a skylight, and it gets a little bit taller. And so it has a kind of a different application, and I am planting them accordingly to their growth pattern. All of the leaves and the foliage I find to be very similar, and look at how gorgeous it is. It tends to have the look almost of like a soft caress holly, only much brighter green. But the leaves are a little bit longer. But the foliage, especially when it emerges, is just spectacular. So stay tuned for that video. And then once I do the big whole reveal of the back, I will show you more of these things. This whole area here is not complete. I did decide to use the technique that I used in the front with my Eugenia topiaries that are not as cold hardy, and we have sunken a large plastic pot or rubber pot, hard plastic pot here in the corner, and I've relocated the holly that was here, and I'll show you that later. And I think this is going to be a good solution. Now, the reason that I made this change to the corner, relocated the holly, and put this here is because I had a large oak leaf hydrangea here. And this is one of my biggest heartbreaks because it was a snowflake hydrangea, oak leaf hydrangea, that I had moved from 2 homes ago. And it just didn't make it. It was one of the few things I lost this year. Fortunately, all the Annabelles in the foreground did make it. Okay, here's the holly, and it will not stay here. It will go someplace else. This is one of those Southern Living hollies that I think is just really, really beautiful. It's got that verticality, that chalice shape that I like, though I think it could be pruned into some different forms as well. And my thinking now, and by the time I get them, these hydrangeas will have budded out. But I'm thinking that on this wall, which does face south and gets more sun really than any other area of the backyard, this may be where I climb a rose. And I'm working with David Austin roses, and I've got some climbing roses on order in the color palette that I'm using back here. And we will be getting those in hopefully shortly so I can get them in before it gets too hot. And then look how beautiful this looks, you guys. For a while, I had the vision, but it was difficult for me to get all of the pieces into place. And knowing what size, what shape, what texture, what rhythm, all the things I talked about as garden design elements in my programs that I did this weekend, you can see where my design ends and where it needs to be fleshed out. But it is being realized, and I could not be more pleased. Ooh, I'm gonna have to wrap this up. It's not only windy, but it's getting chillier. The temperatures are going to take a dive this week. They will hover around freezing, though I don't think they'll get much below that, and I just continue to monitor it every day. I'm really not too worried. So my solution to the back, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later when I do the total reveal of the backyard, is to place an absolutely beautiful, I think this might be a Coral Beauty, Japanese maple in this spot. And once it is mature and it really leaves out, it will completely obscure all of the utility boxes, especially when I remove the orange extension cord there, the utility boxes. And then we're making some other changes, but you can see that now the air conditioner surround is in the final stages of completion. There will be a finial on the corner. We've expanded this patio here, and I'll show you more of that later because as you can see, it's still incomplete. We have a little bit more to do. But it is coming together. I mean, I'm really seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. If last year I told you that it was complete, I meant basically that my design was complete and it was just making it manifest. Now I just need all of the finishing touches of the pots, of the seasonal color, of adding a new flagstone here or there. And I have been assured that it will be complete for Easter. So again, I'm just watching my forecast. Hopefully we'll be able to dine out here for Easter brunch. And it's really looking lovely. I'm loving how the staging of the topiaries on the back is looking. I've still got some planting to do of some begonias there. And there are so many things here. It still looks spotty. And the reason it looks spotty is because there are flowering shrubs in here, low-growing flowering shrubs. Most of them are the butterfly candy, and I cut those back hard. And those are really, once they fill out, they will give it that gray fluffiness that I love so much. For example, here's one over here, and there's one just behind it. These will all, this is little coconut, and they will all bloom in white. And then there's two over here. I'm repositioning something in that hole. I have more of this brilliant ground cover. Just, it's common, but I do adore it. And look how vigorously it's spreading without being overly vigorous. And I've got more of this ajuga coming in this week. And I will plant it in a number of the bare areas. The elephant bush came out of, you see I've been kind of doing my windows. Got my spray, my window cleaner there. But the elephant bush came out of the greenhouse, and it is anchoring the bottom of the steps. And my Japanese maple here is coming out, and look at how the pair of them speak to one another from this vantage point. Well, you guys, I'm sorry we had to postpone the regular garden life, but we will get it up sometime later this week. It's been pineapple upside down cake here for the past 2 weeks with all of the speaking engagements and TV, radio, everything that I've been doing. But I can't wait to get back on track and start enjoying the garden more and enjoying it with you. You guys have a great Sunday.